All right. How do I retire? How do I retire? I akin this question somewhat to when I first moved to town. I had no idea really where I was going because it was new to me. I'd never been there. And so I'd have to pull up on my phone, where am I going? And trying to figure out where to go. But now that I have been living here for several years, it's actually pretty simple to get around, and I know my way around. And oftentimes when I'm talking with clients, especially those folks getting pretty close to retirement, there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry and stress around how do I actually go about retiring? How do I do that? How do I make that transition? And sometimes there are several questions within that question. So when I think about how to answer, how do I retire? Here are a few thoughts that I have that I hope you find helpful. The first thing is, are you actually able to retire? Have you run the numbers? Do you understand the implications with taxes, inflation, income, all of that? So, are you actually able to retire? Is one of the first things that we need to think about from a financial standpoint, based on what it is that you want to accomplish, or that are your bare minimum necessities. So, how do you retire? The first step is to figure out, are you actually able to retire? The second step is from a logistical standpoint, if you're working for a company or some sort of organization, you want to know what are their steps and what are their policies. A lot of the bigger companies will have specific steps that they want someone to follow to go through that retirement process. I work with a lot of Disney employees, a lot of Disney cast members on their retirement planning, the Disney 401k and Disney pension, all of that stuff. And Disney HR has very specific things that they would like to see as you plan to retire. Uh, Decisions around what to do with your pension if you do have a pension, what to do with your 401k, decisions around healthcare, and timing as well. Depending on your role, you may have to give the company a certain amount of notice to be able to actually retire. Maybe that is some sort of maybe 30 days or 60 days or longer than that. Some other companies may or may not have the same policies, but it's good to check. The second step you should want to check is are you able to retire? And number two, what sort of policies does your company have and to abide by to be able to retire successfully from there? The other thing that you want to think about is what are your plans going to be once you retire? So a lot of the anxiety comes with uh, how do you retire? How do I retire? Is actually around what are your plans going to be? What are your expenses going to be? What are the taxes going to be? What's the impact of inflation? Healthcare costs. So from a financial standpoint, what are the plans? But then also from a lifestyle standpoint, if you're no longer having to work, having to show up, or now in the days of Zoom, having to be on Zoom and meetings and all that stuff, what are you going to do with your time? That's a big question and can cause a lot of anxiety because you don't necessarily know what you're going to be doing. And so thinking through, is it some sort of maybe passion project? Maybe there's a hobby that you like to do, or maybe spend some more time with family, or all of the above. Maybe some sort of other work as well. And so you want to think through, what are your plans? So step one is, are you able to? Step two, check with the company policies, see if there's anything in particular there that you need to cover. Step three is, what are your plans going to be? Both your financial plans, but also just your life plans, right? And what do you want to do? And then four, the fourth step to figuring out how do you actually retire? How do I retire? Is to make a decision on when you're going to do it and start taking action towards it, right? So if you know that you want to retire, some people say, hey, I want to nail down this specific day, this specific time. Great. Other people, it's a little bit more of a process, kind of getting there, getting comfortable that they are financially able to do that, getting comfortable with those plans. But a lot of times, the best thing to do is to think, okay, in a perfect world, when is the date? And go ahead and make a decision, and then you can work your way into figuring out those plans. So maybe it's saving a little bit more, maybe it's making changes to your portfolio, maybe it's understanding what are the income and expenses going to be exactly, so you feel comfortable that you're in that position, or maybe it's figuring out some sort of charitable organization that you want to work for, maybe you want to work for the church or what have you. But figuring out those plans, making decision, and actually acting on those plans and moving forward, I would say is the fourth step. So when it comes to how do I retire, or answering how do I retire, that's how I would think about it, or at least a few thoughts I would think about it. I'm sure there's a lot more that we could go into in further detail. But as a recap, we'd want to: one, are you actually able to retire? Two, what are your plans going to be, both financial plans and just personal life plans? Three, are there any specific company policies that you need to follow or abide by during that retirement? And then fourth is making the decision and starting to take action. And so I think about, when I put all of those together, I think about a man I was meeting with a few years ago, and he was thinking through how do I retire, thinking through this question, and he was about a couple years away from it. So we went through detailed financial plans. We ran analysis. We looked to see, over his lifetime. He was early 60s at that time, planning all the way to age 95 for him and his wife. He did have access to a pension and 401k, IRA, some other mutual funds, stocks, things of that nature. So we walked through and made the detailed financial plans. But then what we realized, or what he realized, was, yes, financially he was going to be able to retire, but what he hadn't figured out yet really was, how was he going to spend his time, and what was that greater purpose that he was going to be able to go fulfill and live once he was retired, because so much of his life has been spent working. And so to be able to make that transition to not have to work anymore, he had to really think through that. It took some time, talking with his wife, praying about it, talking with friends, family, of course, other resources that we looked at, to be able to finally feel comfortable with the idea of walking away from work and stepping into the next phase of life, which for him meant traveling, meant family time, meant hosting and entertaining is a big passion project of his. And so being able to have family and friends over and entertain, and also be able to help with some charitable endeavors as well. So there's no specific right answer or wrong answer to this. It's really just dependent on you as the individual. And I am happy to be there side by side with you, to partner with you, to help you think through this question and many other questions that come up as you start to think about that transition into retirement. My name is Kyle Newell. I'm a certified financial planner professional. I own Newell Wealth Management, which is a fee-only financial advisor firm here in Winter Garden, Florida, but I serve the greater Orlando area, and I'm able to work with clients across the country as well, virtually. Of course, everything that we talk about today, that I've talked about in this video, is just educational purposes. I don't know your situation as of yet, but hopefully you can find some value in what we talked about. And so, no specific tax advice or financial advice or legal advice for that matter, but just educational content that I hope you found value in, and I hope that you can learn from. And of course, if you want to reach out, I hope you do reach out. If you can drop me a comment, send me an email, send me a message, give me a call, shoot me a text, however is convenient for you. My website is newellwm.com, so newellwm.com, and I would be happy to set up a meeting with you and talk through that. The first meeting, there's no cost or obligation to that. So again, my name is Kyle Newell. I hope you found value in that, and I hope you have a great day, and hope that I can see you real soon. Take care.